15-year-old Amina was just like any other devoted Muslim girl, until a sudden tragedy plunged her into darkness. As she slipped between life and death, she saw a world no one expects, a realm of light, shadow, and terrifying truths. But nothing could prepare her for the moment she came face to face with Jesus, not as a prophet, but as God himself. What she witnessed next would shake her soul forever.
My name is Amina Khalid. I'm 15 years old, and I live in Dearborn, Michigan. If you've never been here, it's a place where you can hear the call to prayer from the mosques, where Arabic is spoken as much as English, and where almost everyone I knew growing up was Muslim. It's a tight-knit community, full of families who believe in the same values. I was born into Islam, and for most of my life, I never questioned it. I was proud to be Muslim. It shaped everything I did, everything I thought, and everything I believed. My parents are both from Yemen. They came to America years before I was born, hoping to build a better life while holding on to their faith. My father works at a small grocery store, and my mother stays at home, taking care of me and my younger brothers. Our house was always full of smells from the kitchen, full of Arabic words, full of prayers. Every morning, before school, we prayed far together. My mom would wake me up gently before sunrise. Sometimes I was tired and grumpy, but I always got up because I knew it mattered to her. It mattered to Allah. After school, I would come home, help my mom cook, and then open my Quran. We had a large wooden stand for it. I would sit on the floor, legs folded beneath me, and read aloud, carefully pronouncing each word. My mom listened, correcting me gently if I made mistakes. I also went to Arabic class at our local Islamic center twice a week. We studied the Quran, learned about the prophets, and talked about how to be a good Muslim. Wearing the hijab was a big part of my life. I started wearing it when I was 10. I remember how excited I was to pick out my first one, soft pink with tiny white flowers. My mom took a picture of me in it and sent it to my aunts. That day, I felt grown up. I felt holy. At school, some kids stared, but in Dearborn, it wasn't unusual. Most of the girls in my school wore hijab. We helped each other style it, making sure no hair peeked out. It made me feel close to God. It reminded me that I wasn't just anyone, I was a Muslim girl, and that meant something. During Ramadan, our whole world changed. The days felt longer, but they were filled with purpose. I fasted from sunrise to sunset, even when it was hard. My stomach would growl in class, and sometimes my head hurt, but I kept going. At sunset, we gathered around the table, waiting for the call to prayer before we took the first bite of a date and sipped water. Then came the food, rice, lamb, lentil soup, fresh bread. We laughed, ate, prayed together, and stayed up late into the night reading Quran. I loved those nights the most. The quiet of the house, the warm light from the prayer room, the way my dad's voice echoed as he recited verses, it felt like heaven. Our mosque was a second home to me. On Fridays, we all dressed in our best clothes and went for Jumu'ah prayer. I would sit with the women, legs tucked under me, listening closely to the imam's words. The smell of perfume mixed with the soft sounds of pages turning in Qurans. Afterward, we would greet each other with hugs and "As-salamu alaykum," then head outside, kids running ahead, moms chatting about recipes or school. My world was safe. It was structured. Islam gave me rules, but those rules gave me peace. I never drank, never went to parties, never dated boys. I didn't want to. I didn't need to. I believed that obeying Allah would bring me happiness. I believed that if I followed the path of the Prophet Muhammad, I would go to Jannah, paradise. And I truly believed that Christians had it wrong. I didn't hate Christians. I just thought they were confused. They believed Jesus was the Son of God, even God himself, and to me, that was the biggest mistake anyone could make. In Islam, Jesus, Isa, peace be upon him, was a prophet, a great man, but nothing more. Saying he was God was shirk, the worst sin. I had Christian classmates, and I was polite to them, but deep inside, I felt sorry for them. I thought they didn't know the truth. Sometimes I would pass by churches on the way to the store with my dad. I'd see people going in on Sundays, dressed up, singing songs. I didn't understand it. I would look away and say a quiet prayer, thanking Allah for making me Muslim. That was my life. Prayers 5 times a day, respect for my parents, fasting during Ramadan, wearing my hijab with pride, and trusting that my religion was the truth. I never imagined anything could shake that belief. I never thought I would die. And I never dreamed that when I did, everything I believed would be turned upside down. But that's exactly what happened. It was just another day in Ramadan. I was fasting, like always. I woke up before dawn to eat sahur, just a few dates, a boiled egg, and some water. Then I prayed far, wrapped myself in a blanket, and laid back down for a bit before school. But since it was the weekend, I didn't have to go anywhere. I stayed home in my pajamas, helping my mom around the house. The sky outside was gray and quiet, and inside, everything felt peaceful. My little brothers were watching cartoons, and my dad had gone to the store. I tied my hair up under my hijab and got started with the cooking. We were preparing iftar early, like we always did during Ramadan weekends. My mom was standing by the sink peeling potatoes, and I was cutting onions. We were making lamb stew. The smell of spices filled the air, cinnamon, cumin, turmeric. I could almost taste it already, but I reminded myself I couldn't eat yet. A few more hours, I told myself. We laughed together as I wiped tears from my eyes from the onions. My mom told me stories about her childhood in Yemen. How she and her sisters used to cook for big family gatherings. I loved those stories. They made me feel connected to her past. Then I started to feel strange. It happened so fast, I didn't even understand what was going on. One moment I was reaching for the garlic, and the next, my vision started to blur. It was like the whole room tilted sideways. I grabbed the counter, trying to steady myself. "Are you okay, Amina?" my mom asked, turning toward me. I tried to answer, but the words felt heavy in my mouth. My head pounded like a drum, and my chest felt tight. I took a step back, but the floor felt like it was moving under my feet. I felt hot and cold at the same time. My skin prickled. My breath became shallow. "I feel dizzy," I whispered. And then everything got darker. The kitchen lights dimmed, even though they were still on. My mom's voice sounded far away, like she was yelling through water. "Amina. Sit down, baby. Amina." I tried to sit, but my knees buckled beneath me. I collapsed on the floor. My head hit the tile, and for a second, I couldn't move. I saw my mom's face, wide with panic, kneeling beside me, shaking my shoulders. "Wake up. Amina, please." Then the screaming started. My brothers had run into the kitchen. They were crying, confused, scared. My mom shouted for someone to call 911. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands, repeating, "Please, help, my daughter's not waking up." I could hear it all. But it was like I wasn't inside my body anymore. I was floating. I saw myself lying on the kitchen floor, pale and still. My eyes were half open, my lips turning blue. I wanted to scream, to tell them I was okay, that I was right there, but no sound came out. I wasn't in my body anymore. I hovered near the ceiling, looking down at my family falling apart. The front door burst open. Paramedics rushed in with bags and equipment. One of them knelt beside me and checked my pulse. Another one shouted something to my mom, asking questions. "Carbon monoxide," someone said. "Get the windows open now." That's when they realized the water heater in the basement was leaking. It had been faulty for weeks, and we didn't even know. The gas had been filling the house slowly, quietly, without any smell or warning. And I had been right there, closest to the basement stairs. They put an oxygen mask on me. They lifted my body onto a stretcher. I watched as they carried me out of the kitchen, past the front door, into the ambulance. My mom was crying so hard, her hands shaking as she tried to put on her shoes. One of the neighbors ran over to help. My brothers stood on the porch, confused and crying. And I was still there, floating behind them, watching it all. I wasn't in pain anymore. My body was lifeless, but I felt strangely calm. I could see everything and everyone. I could even see inside the ambulance, where the paramedics worked quickly, yelling numbers, pushing needles into my arm. It didn't feel real. I kept thinking, this must be a dream. But it wasn't. I was watching my own body die. And deep inside, I started to feel something I'd never felt before. A pull. A presence. Someone was coming. And I had no idea my entire life was about to change forever. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I was standing, or floating, really. Right above the kitchen, staring down at myself. My body was still on the floor. My hijab had slipped a little to the side, and my hands were stiff, curled awkwardly near my chest. I could hear my mom crying louder than I'd ever heard before. Her sobs echoed through the house. She kept saying, "Please, Amina, come back. Ya Allah, please." She was holding my cold hand, rocking back and forth on her knees. My little brother, Adam, was screaming my name. He kept pulling at my arm, trying to wake me up, even as the paramedics were gently pushing him back. He didn't understand what was happening. He was only 8. The paramedics were calm but serious. They moved quickly, one of them checking my pulse, another starting CPR. A machine beeped, and someone shouted, "No response. We need to move now." They picked me up and rushed me out of the house. But I didn't go with them. Not really. I was still floating above the scene, like a balloon caught in the wind. I saw my neighbors coming out of their homes, some of them crying, others standing frozen in shock. I saw the ambulance doors slam shut, and I watched as it sped away with my body inside. I stayed behind. I tried to scream. I tried to shout for my mom, for Adam, for anyone. "I'm right here," I yelled. But no sound came out. My mouth moved, but there was nothing. No one looked up. No one saw me. No one heard me. I wasn't in my body anymore. And I was starting to realize that maybe I had died. Panic filled me. I wasn't ready. I was only 15. I hadn't even finished high school. I hadn't memorized all the surahs I wanted to. I had so many plans, so many things I hadn't done yet. But then something changed. It started slowly, like a shift in the air. The sky darkened, not like nighttime, but like something was closing in. The colors around me dimmed. The sounds of the world faded, like someone was turning the volume down. I looked around and saw nothing but shadows creeping in from every side. I tried to run, but my legs didn't move. I didn't even know if I still had legs. Then I felt it, a pull. Not gentle, but strong. Like a current in the ocean dragging me somewhere I didn't want to go. "Stop!" I cried, though no one heard. "Please, stop." But it didn't stop. The light from my house, the sound of my mother's voice, my little brother's cries, they all slipped away. I was being pulled into something cold. Something empty. The place I landed in was not like Earth. There was no sky. No ground. Just darkness all around. I floated in it, like I was suspended in thick, black smoke. I couldn't tell what was up or down. Everything looked the same. And the silence, it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It pressed on me, like a weight I couldn't escape. "Where am I?" I whispered. No one answered. I thought maybe this was Barzakh, the place between life and death we learned about in Islam. Maybe this was where my soul was supposed to wait until the day of judgment. But it didn't feel right. This place, it felt empty. It felt wrong. I couldn't feel Allah. I couldn't feel peace. I had always imagined that even if I died young, my soul would feel comfort, light, angels, something. But here, there was only nothingness. Only silence. I started to feel afraid. Then I felt something else. A presence. Something watching me. I turned, but there was no one. Still, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. Something was coming. Not with footsteps, not with sound, but I could feel it getting closer. The darkness around me began to shift, moving like smoke being stirred. I wanted to run again, but I couldn't. I was frozen. Powerless. That's when I began to cry. Not just from fear, but from confusion. From the deep, aching feeling that something was terribly wrong. "Please," I whispered. "Where are you? Allah, please, where are you?" I didn't expect what happened next. Because from the distance, cutting through the dark, I saw a single light. Very small at first. But warm. Unlike anything around me. And even before I saw who stood inside that light, I knew deep inside, something was about to change. Something big. And I wasn't ready for it. The light grew brighter, cutting through the thick darkness like a knife. I was still floating in that empty space. No floor, no ceiling, just darkness pressing in on me from every side. But now, there was something ahead. Something different. Something alive. At first, I thought it was just light. But as it got closer, I realized it was a presence. Strong. Powerful. Pure. It didn't speak, not in words, but I could feel it calling me. Not with a voice, but inside my soul. Like it knew me. Like it had always known me. I wasn't sure if I should go toward it or run away. But I couldn't move on my own. I was being pulled gently now, not like before. The panic started to fade, just a little, replaced by something I didn't have words for. Maybe. Or fear that wasn't scary, but respectful. Holy. And then I saw him. He wasn't like anything I'd ever imagined. This figure, tall, glowing, powerful beyond reason, stood in the light. Wings like fire stretched behind him. His face was so bright I couldn't make out the details, but I knew he was beautiful. Not in a human way, but in a way that made everything else look small. He was full of light. Full of glory. Full of something I didn't yet understand. I couldn't speak, but I didn't need to. He already knew everything. Without words, he said, "Come." And I followed. Not with steps, but with my spirit. I floated behind him through the tunnel that had formed, a tunnel made of light and shadow, twisting through some realm I didn't recognize. We were moving fast, but there was no wind, no sound, no time. It felt like seconds and hours all at once. The deeper we went, the more I started to feel again. Emotions. Memories. Thoughts I hadn't visited in years. They all came flooding back. Suddenly, the tunnel opened up into a wide space. But this wasn't heaven. At least, it didn't feel like it. It was light, yes, but not peaceful. The light here revealed everything. Every thought. Every secret. Every lie. And around me were souls. Some were wandering. Their faces looked confused, like they were lost. Others were screaming, running in circles, their hands over their ears. Some looked peaceful, ascending, rising into a brightness I couldn't even look at. But many didn't. Many were stuck, weighed down by something heavy. Regret. Shame. Sin. I stood there, unsure of what I was seeing. The angel beside me didn't speak, but his presence gave me strength. And then, without warning, I started to see myself. Like a movie, my life began to play in front of me. It started with small things. Me as a child, learning how to pray beside my mom. Reciting Quranic verses in Arabic class. Laughing with Adam in the backyard. Walking to the mosque with my dad during Ramadan, my tiny hand in his. Then it moved faster. I saw myself in middle school, arguing with classmates who were Christian. I remembered calling one girl confused because she said Jesus was God. I saw the look on her face, hurt, but kind. I had laughed it off then. Now, it didn't feel funny. I saw the times I was kind to people, not for love, but for reputation. The times I followed the rules, not out of true faith, but fear of punishment. The times I judged others silently, believing I was better because I prayed more or dressed more modestly. I felt everything. Not just the memories, but the emotions of others. I could feel my mom's joy when I told her I loved her. I could feel Adam's sadness when I snapped at him. I could feel the disappointment in my teacher's heart when I lied about finishing my assignment. Every action had a ripple. Nothing was hidden here. Not my intentions. Not my pride. Not my secrets. I wanted to hide. But I couldn't. And then something deeper hit me. I realized that I had followed religion with my mouth and hands, but not always with my heart. I had prayed, yes. I had fasted, yes. But I didn't know God. Not truly. I knew rules. I knew fear. But I didn't know love. Not the kind of love that transforms. Tears filled my eyes. I turned to the angel, trembling. Why am I seeing this? I asked silently. And though he still didn't speak, I understood the answer. Because truth has to be seen before it can set you free. And this was just the beginning. As I stood in that strange place filled with light and wandering souls, my life began to play before me like a movie. It was not like watching a film in a theater. Instead, I felt every moment deep inside my heart, like I was living it all over again. The angel who had brought me here stood silently beside me, watching me watch my own life. I didn't understand everything at first. Why was this happening? But I knew I had to face it. There was no running. No hiding. First, I saw my childhood, how my parents taught me to pray 5 times a day, how my mother showed me how to wrap my hijab neatly every morning. I saw the mornings when I woke early for Quran study, the nights spent reading stories about prophets. I smiled to myself, remembering how proud I was to be a good Muslim girl. I had tried hard to follow every rule, to please my family and God. But then the scenes changed. I saw moments I had forgotten or didn't want to remember. I saw the times I had looked down on my classmates who were Christian. I remembered the sneers and harsh words I had used when someone said Jesus was God. I had told myself they were wrong. That only Islam was the truth. I believed it with all my heart. But now, watching it like a stranger, I saw how my pride had hurt others. How I had built walls instead of bridges. How my fear of being wrong had made me reject people who only wanted to be kind. The angel said inside my mind, every soul must answer for both truth and error. I felt those words deep inside. I wanted to ask him what it meant. But I knew the answer was already clear. I was seeing my errors, the things I had been blind to. Then the movie went deeper. I saw the hidden parts, things even I had not admitted before. I saw how sometimes I prayed not because I loved God but because I was afraid. Afraid of punishment, afraid of shame, afraid of disappointing my parents and my community. I saw how I had followed the rules on the outside, but inside, my heart was restless. Sometimes I felt lonely and confused, but I never told anyone. I saw moments where I acted kind, but my kindness was mixed with pride. Like when I helped my younger brother Adam with his homework, but only because I wanted to look responsible. Or when I gave extra money to charity, but deep down, I wanted people to notice. I felt ashamed. I saw how I judged others silently, how I thought I was better than some people because I wore the hijab properly, because I prayed more, because I kept my distance from those wrong beliefs. I remembered the times I whispered against someone who didn't fast during Ramadan, even though I did not know their story. All of this was clear now. I saw the truth of myself, not the perfect image I had tried to show the world. And then, I saw the moments of real love. The times I had reached out to my mother when she was tired, the times I comforted Adam when he was scared. The quiet prayers I whispered at night, asking God to help my family, even if I didn't fully understand why. I realized these moments were pure. Not because I was perfect, but because they came from my heart. The angel's presence was steady and calm. He showed me that no one is perfect. That life is full of mistakes and learning. That every soul carries both light and darkness. He reminded me silently, you will answer for both. I felt a weight settle on me. The weight of responsibility. But also a strange hope. If this was judgment, it was also mercy. The movie slowed. I saw my family again, my mother's tear-streaked face, my father's quiet prayers, Adam's small hands reaching for me. I wanted to run back to them, to tell them how much I loved them, how sorry I was for the pain I caused. But I was still here. Still watching. Still learning. I asked inside my heart, is there hope for me? For someone like me? The angel did not answer with words. But I felt a warmth growing inside me. A light that was not from this place. It was different from the bright, scary light outside. It was gentle. It was love. And somehow, I knew this was just the beginning of a journey I never expected. As I stood there, still trying to understand everything I had just seen in my life, the angel led me to another place nearby. It was not bright like before, but neither was it completely dark. It felt cold and heavy. There were many souls there, men, women, children, all different ages and faces. I noticed something strange. These people looked serious, many of them with faces full of sadness. Some were weeping quietly, others screamed in pain, and some just stood still, like they were lost. It was a sad place, and I felt a deep sorrow inside my chest. I looked closer and realized that these were people who had lived good lives. They prayed, fasted, followed their religions carefully, some were Muslims like me, others were from different faiths, even some Christians. But none of them were in the bright light where I had been shown before. They were stuck here. My heart shook. I wanted to ask the angel why such good, devout people were not in the light. Why were they here in this place of sadness? The angel did not speak out loud, but I heard his voice inside my mind, gentle but serious. Many souls live and die in chains, he said. Chains of tradition, chains of belief without truth. They follow rules and rituals, but miss the true path. I felt confused. What did he mean? He showed me visions of how people can be trapped by what they are taught. How religion, when only seen as rules to follow, can become a cage instead of a guide. I saw people clinging to their religious traditions so tightly that they never looked beyond what they were told. They believed strongly in their customs and laws but had never truly known God or Jesus. They thought they were safe because they obeyed rules, but their hearts were far from the truth. Some of these souls were angry because they felt betrayed. Because they were sure their religion was the only way, yet here they were, trapped and separated from the light. Others were confused, searching for answers but unable to find them. I saw how deception can be very powerful. It can look like the truth but lead people far away. The angel said, deception binds souls with invisible chains. It is the enemy's trick to keep them from the light. I remembered the times I had been taught to fear Christians and Jesus being God. I had been told they were wrong, even evil. But now I saw that this fear and hate were part of those chains, the chains of religion that stop souls from seeking truth freely. It was a hard truth for me to accept. I had thought my faith was the whole truth. But now I saw how traditions, no matter how old or respected, can trap even the best people. The angel showed me one soul in particular, a woman who had prayed every day, given to charity, and raised her children well. But she had never opened her heart to Jesus because she believed her religion was enough. She was weeping quietly, and I felt her pain deep inside me. Why do they suffer? I asked the angel. He said, because faith without truth is like a lamp without oil. It cannot give light. I felt sadness for all those souls lost in darkness, even though they had tried their best. Then the angel's voice grew gentle, but firm. There is freedom beyond the chains of religion. But it comes only when a soul truly opens to the truth, not tradition. I thought about my own life, about the walls I had built around my heart, and how I had judged others without knowing the full truth. I realized now how important it was to seek beyond what I had been told. To open my heart, not just my mind. The angel said, "This is the choice every soul must make. To remain chained or to be free." I wanted to be free. But I was still scared. The angel smiled softly, not with words but with peace that touched my soul. He showed me a faint light in the distance, small but growing. A sign of hope for those who choose to follow truth, no matter where it leads. I understood then that this journey was not just about rules or traditions. It was about finding the real God, the one who loves all souls and wants them free. The weight of what I saw pressed on me, but it also lifted something inside, a hope I never felt before. I did not want to be like those souls trapped in chains. I wanted to walk toward the light, no matter the cost. After all the darkness, the sadness, and the confusion, the angel led me further. We moved toward a light so bright it hurt my eyes at first. It was not like the sun or a lamp. This light was pure and alive, filling everything around me. It was warm, but it was also powerful, like it was alive and watching. As I moved closer, I felt my heart pounding hard, like it might burst. I was afraid and yet drawn to it at the same time. I wanted to run away, but something kept pulling me forward. The angel's presence was strong beside me, but now I felt I was almost alone as the light grew stronger and clearer. Then, standing in the middle of the light, I saw him. At first, I did not recognize who he was. He was a man, but more than a man. His clothes were white, glowing softly. His hair was long and shining like gold, but it was not just hair, it was like light itself. His face was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen, but his eyes were what caught me. They were deep, endless pools of love and wisdom. When he looked at me, it felt like he could see everything about me, my secrets, my fears, my doubts, and still, he loved me completely. I wanted to speak, to ask him who he was, but no words came out. I was frozen. Then his voice came, not loud, but soft and clear, like the gentlest breeze that can still shake a tree. "Do not be afraid, Amina," he said. "I have been waiting for you." I gasped. How did he know my name? Slowly, it all came together in my mind. This was not just a man or a prophet. This was Jesus. But not the Jesus I had heard about in stories or from my teachers. This Jesus was greater, he was God. My knees gave way, and I fell to the ground. I felt small and unworthy in his presence. Tears ran down my cheeks, but it was not sadness. It was awe. I was undone. Jesus knelt beside me and lifted my chin gently. His touch was warm and healing. "You have carried many fears and lies in your heart," he said, "but I am here to show you the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life." I wanted to ask him everything, to understand why I had been so blind, why I had hated what I did not know. But the words escaped me. He smiled, full of kindness. "I do not condemn you, Amina. I love you as you are, but I call you to a new life. A life beyond fear, beyond chains." His presence was so strong that I felt all my pride, all my doubts, melt away. I wanted to stay there forever, just looking into those eyes. He spoke again, gently but with a power that made my soul tremble. Your faith was strong, but incomplete. You believed in God, but not in me as God. Now you see me as I am. I nodded, though my heart was still trying to catch up with my mind. Come, he said softly. Let me show you the way. At that moment, I knew my life would never be the same. Jesus held my hand and led me deeper into the bright light. His presence made everything feel peaceful, but I could still feel a weight in my heart, questions I needed answers to. He looked at me with such tenderness and said, Amina, I want to show you the truth about who I am and why I came. Suddenly, everything around us changed. I found myself watching scenes unfold like a story playing out before me. I saw a man, tired and worn, carrying a heavy wooden cross. His face was bruised and bleeding. It was Jesus, the same Jesus who stood beside me, yet this was him in the past. I saw the crowds shouting, angry and cruel. I saw the soldiers pushing him, nailing him to the cross. I felt the pain and sadness in his eyes. Then, I saw Jesus on the cross, hanging there, alone but full of love. His voice was quiet but clear as he spoke, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Tears ran down my face as I watched. I realized he had suffered and died, not just for some people, but for everyone, even for those who did not believe in him, even for me. Next, I saw his body being placed in a tomb, a cold, dark cave sealed with a heavy stone. I felt a deep sadness, thinking this was the end. But then, the stone moved. Light flooded the tomb. Jesus was gone. I saw him alive again, walking and speaking with his followers, showing them he had risen from death. Jesus turned to me and said, Amina, my death and resurrection were not just events in history. They are the bridge between God and humanity. Through this, I defeated death and sin. He showed me the meaning of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, all one God in perfect unity. I had heard about the Trinity before, but now I understood. It was not a confusing idea anymore. It was real and beautiful. Many have misunderstood my message, Jesus said softly. Religion has twisted my words and made my followers into rules and fear. But I came to bring freedom, love, and life. I looked down and saw chains wrapped around my wrists, chains of fear, pride, and false beliefs. Jesus smiled and reached out his hand. As I took it, the chains broke and fell away. I felt lighter than I had ever felt. You are free now, Amina, he said. Free to live in truth and love. I wanted to thank him, but words failed me again. I just held his hand tightly, knowing my life was forever changed. As I stood there holding Jesus' hand, I felt a peace unlike anything I had ever known. The light around us was warm and safe. It felt like I could stay there forever and never feel pain or fear again. Then Jesus spoke softly, Amina, you have seen the truth. You have been shown great mercy. Now, you have a choice. You may stay here with me, in this place of peace and love. Or you may return to your life on earth. My heart jumped. Stay here forever? No more suffering, no more confusion? That sounded wonderful. But then I thought about my family, my little sister, my father, my mother, and so many others I loved who had never seen this light. I remembered my sister's sweet smile, the way my father worked so hard to provide, even though he struggled with his faith. My mother's gentle hands, always cooking and praying. What would happen to them if I stayed? Tears filled my eyes as I looked up at Jesus. I want to stay. I want to be with you. But, what about my family? What about all the people who are still lost in darkness? Jesus' eyes were full of understanding. Amina, your love for them is strong. That is why I ask you to return. There is a purpose for your life that still must be fulfilled. I felt a mixture of sadness and hope. The idea of going back to the world I knew, where so much was confusing and hard, made me afraid. But I also felt a deep calling inside me, a new strength I had never had before. "Will you help me?" I asked quietly. Jesus smiled. "I will never leave you. I will be with you always." He reached out and placed his hand on my head, blessing me. A warm light flowed through me, filling me with courage and peace. "Go, Amina," he said gently. "Speak the truth you have seen. Let your story bring light to those still in darkness." I nodded, wiping my tears away. Though my heart was heavy, I felt ready. Suddenly, the bright light around me began to fade. I felt myself moving, like falling gently through a soft cloud. I opened my eyes to see my mother's worried face bending over me. My little brother was crying softly, and my father was calling my name. I was back in the kitchen where I had fallen, but now everything felt different. I felt alive, but with a new purpose burning inside me. I knew I had been given a second chance. Not just to live, but to tell the truth about what I had seen. I slowly opened my eyes to bright, white lights and quiet voices. I was in a hospital bed. My body ached, and everything felt strange, but I was alive. I heard my mother's soft sobs and saw my father pacing nervously by the window. My little brother sat on a chair holding my hand tightly. When I finally found my voice, I told them, "I'm okay now. I'm awake." They all sighed in relief. My mother smiled with tears running down her cheeks. My father's face softened, but I could see worry in his eyes. But then, I felt a strange need to share everything, the light, the tunnel, and most of all, Jesus. So I began to tell them. I saw something no one could believe. I saw Jesus. My mother's smile vanished, replaced by fear. "Amina, please," she whispered, "do not say such things. You are confused. This is not our way." My father's expression hardened. "You must be careful," he said sharply. "This talk could bring shame to our family. You are my daughter, but you must remember who you are." I felt a cold wave hit me. Their eyes, once full of love, now looked like walls closing in on me. I wanted them to understand, but their faces showed anger and fear. I tried to explain more, but they would not listen. My mother begged me again, "Please, do not speak of this. It will bring trouble." My father warned, "You must keep quiet. We cannot let others know what you say." I was hurt and confused. How could they reject what I knew was true? How could they turn away from the light I had seen? Still, deep inside, I held on to the peace Jesus had given me. Even if my family did not accept it, I knew I had been changed forever. I closed my eyes and remembered his eyes, full of love and understanding. I remembered his voice, soft but powerful, telling me I was not alone. That memory was my strength. I was scared and lonely, but I was no longer afraid of the darkness. I whispered to myself, "I will hold on to you, Jesus, even if I stand alone." After waking up from the hospital, my life began to change in ways I never expected. I felt a new hope inside me, a light that would not go out. But I also knew I had to keep it secret. My family and community were not ready to hear about what I had seen. I found a small, hidden place in our home where I could read a book that had been given to me by a kind nurse, the Bible. I opened it carefully, turning the pages with trembling fingers. At first, the words seemed strange and hard to understand. But as I read more, the stories and teachings began to touch my heart. I started to pray to Jesus in my quiet moments, asking him for strength and guidance. I prayed in my room, often when everyone else was asleep. Sometimes I cried quietly, feeling the love and peace that Jesus had shown me. One day, my little sister, Fatima, who was only 10, came into my room and caught me praying. She looked curious but did not say anything. Later, she asked me, "Amina, why do you talk to Jesus? Isn't that different from what we learned?" I smiled gently and told her, "Yes, it is different, but Jesus loves us. He is kind and wants to help us." I will tell you more when you are ready. Fatima's eyes were wide. I saw hope there, a small seed planted. But not everyone was as quiet as Fatima. My father began to notice changes in me. He saw how I stopped wearing my hijab sometimes, and how I stayed alone in my room for long hours. He started asking questions, but I was careful not to say too much. I didn't want to cause trouble, but I could not hide the new life growing inside me. Rumors began to spread around our mosque. People whispered about Amina changing, about strange ideas she was bringing into our family. Some avoided us, and some gave cold looks. It was hard. I felt like I was living two lives, one outside, where I pretended to be the same girl they knew, and one inside, where I quietly followed the Jesus I had met. But little things gave me hope. One night, Fatima told me about a dream she had. She saw a bright light and a man who looked very kind. "Is it Jesus?" she asked me. I nodded softly, my heart full. Even my mother began to soften. She did not say much, but sometimes she watched me with gentle eyes. I could tell she was struggling inside, wondering what was happening to her daughter. And then, something unexpected happened. My cousin, Hassan, who was usually quiet and serious, came to me one afternoon. "Amina," he said, "I want to read that book you have. Can you give me a Bible?" I was surprised but happy. I handed him my Bible with a smile. "Read it with an open heart," I told him. He nodded, and I knew a small seed had been planted there too. Even though I was scared and the path was hard, I felt Jesus walking with me every day. I was not alone. I prayed that one day, my family and community would understand the love I had found. Until then, I would live in secret, planting seeds wherever I could. Now that I am older, I want to share my story with you. For many years, I was afraid to speak about what happened to me. I kept it hidden, worried about how people would react. But I have learned that the truth brings freedom, and hiding it only brings pain. My life has changed in ways I never could have imagined. The fear and confusion I once felt have given way to peace and hope. Jesus is no longer a stranger to me. He is my friend, my savior, my God. I grew up in a strong Muslim family. I loved my faith and traditions deeply. But what I saw when I died showed me something beyond all I knew. I saw Jesus not just as a prophet, but as God himself. His love is beyond anything I have ever experienced. I know many people in my community are still waiting for truth. They believe in what they have been taught, and I respect that. But I also know that truth is alive, and it changes everything when you find it. When I first came back to life, I was confused and afraid. My family did not understand, and some even rejected me. But I held on to the light Jesus gave me. Over time, I have grown stronger, and so has my faith. Now I want to tell you, especially to my Muslim brothers and sisters, that Jesus is more than a prophet. He is God. He is love. He gave his life so that we could be free from fear, from chains, and from death itself. If you are listening to me today, please do not be afraid to seek him. You do not have to leave everything you know all at once, but open your heart. Pray and ask for truth. Jesus promises that if we seek him, we will find him. I am telling you this because I want you to know the love and peace I have found. It changed my soul and saved my life. He is not just a prophet. He is God. And he is love. Thank you for listening to my story.